Devin Booker, still the king
Look at this
of
guy.
the arrival. Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolf, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wiles. We have a fabulous show for you today. Nick, can anyone even touch the way Devin Booker enters an NBA Finals game? By car, by foot, whatever it may be.
No, right now he is the undisputed king of that. We will see if his team remains the king of the court, but right now he is the king of the arrival. There's no doubt about it. There's no question.
Well, that is a very good segue.
I see you, Dev.
A very good segue. Let us start there. NBA Finals Game 2 last night. And look, Giannis was the best player on the floor. Game-high 42 points, but for the Bucks, he was basically the only player on the floor. Couldn't stop a Suns team clicking on every last cylinder. Phoenix hitting a playoff franchise record 23-pointers last night. If you watch the game, Bucks kept getting close, never quite close enough. 31 from Booker, 23 from CP3 as the Suns get the win. They now take a 2-0 series lead as that series shifts back to Milwaukee. Here was CP3 last night on Stain Locked In.
A lot of the guys on our team, this is their first playoff series. You know, they don't know the heartache or the heartbreak. They just out there playing. So for me, I know how quick things can change. I know how a possession or play can change the dynamics of an entire series. So for me, I don't get too high, I don't get too low.
We've been here before. We know what the deal is. Just gotta be aggressive, keep enjoying, playing together, keep enjoying playing basketball. And hopefully our good habits, throughout the year can, take over, and now we can put ourselves in a position to win the game. But we know what the deal is.
Nick, we talked all week about how if Giannis comes back and is the dominant Giannis we know he could be, the Bucks are in this series. How did the Suns overcome such a dominating game from Giannis last night?
Well, it's very, very difficult to win NBA Finals games 1-on-5. And that's what the Bucks attempted to do last night, and they were unsuccessful. And man, I envy folks that get to root in NBA Finals games for the more complete team. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, man, over the last decade, aside from last year's finals, every year I'm rooting for the team that's got one guy up against the world. And last night I'm like, what more could Giannis have done? And the answer is nothing. And it was the finest playoff game, or Game 7 against Brooklyn was probably Giannis' best playoff game, all things considered. But this was very close. He played a perfect second half, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because of what Phoenix did and what his teammates didn't do. After Game 1, one of the things I said was, listen, Milwaukee's not going to go 5 of 12 in the first half at the rim, which is what the non-Giannis Bucks did. They missed 7 shots at the rim in first half of Game 1 when the game was getting away from them. Well, I was right. Instead, the non-Giannis Bucks in the first half went 6 of 16 at the rim. That's 17 misses at the rim for the non-Giannis Bucks in the first half of these 2 games. And Brandon, one thing about your beloved adopted step Phoenix Suns is this. You can't let them get out ahead, man. This is a team that all playoffs long. There's not a lot of stories in these playoffs of the Suns overcame a 13-point deficit. There are a ton of games where it's the Suns built a 13-point lead and held on to it. And last night it felt like every time the Bucks were clawing back thanks to Giannis, Devin Booker did that. Felt like every time they were close, there would be a Suns miss, an offensive rebound, and then a Suns bucket as a second chance point. So that's how they won. The Suns had a complete game. The Bucks had a one-man show, and that wasn't enough.
Right. Listen, that's a good point, Nick. It's reminiscent of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Look, I know, Brandon, why are you talking about football? Well, when you played against Peyton Manning, you played against Tom Brady, Foxborough, going out in Indy, and if they were up, it was over. Because on the other side, on the defense side, they had defensive ends that was going to just tip off, pull their caps back and get after the quarterback, and they weren't going to let up on the offensive side, and that's what CP3 is. He is that field general. He is that court general. once he gets up, it's a wrap for you boys. That's what it is. But look, this whole question, how did the Suns overcome a playoff career high of 42 points from Giannis? We talked about this all week, Wout. Look, he did this in the regular season, and they still didn't win. He averaged 40 points against them in the regular season and still lost.
Yeah,
now, obviously, only 2 games, but that's enough of a sample size to know that the Suns are a better team. Said it yesterday, better coaching. Monty Williams, he has the ability to be able to get everything out of guys without even yelling. You know those guys, like there's some dudes that's just like rah, and they want to push with emotion. And then there's some coaches just like, man, they just speak softly and everybody moves. He knows X's and O's. So you have that. And then you have CP3 on the court. He's the extension of Monty Williams. And you can even say he can take it to a whole nother level, just his experience on the court. And then you have ballers on that team. So, look, they're the better team, period, Wilds.
I know. You've been saying this, and I was like, I'm not so sure, Brandon. But I hate to say it, I'm starting to come around to your side of the Suns argument. Because here's the thing. The Bucks were 7-3 after leading after the first quarter. So once they got off to that first quarter lead, Nick, I was like, oh, you know what? It's Bucks time. This is their bounce back game. But then you saw the Suns come back and start playing more team basketball. And look, I'm going to show you one possession here, Nick, that I said, when I saw this, I was like, you know what? This will be on the VHS championship tape that the Suns make. I don't even know if they make VHSs anymore, but maybe it's like vinyls. There's going to be a comeback.
It's on beta.
This reminded me of the '86 Celtics. It looked like, you know, prime Tim Duncan Spurs. This looked like the Hamptons 5 Warriors. You saw this like, uh-oh. This is the best indication that that the Suns are a complete team. If I was to give you the one Bucks highlight, it would be Giannis getting the ball at half court and doing it all himself. And like you said, 5 guys versus 1 guy, 5 guys are going to win. I think that the Bucks will be able to turn this around because we've seen them be a little up and down, just like the Nets series. But the Bucks didn't play that poorly and still lost. So I would be a little bit more worried than I thought I was going to be for Milwaukee.
Well, the reason that possession's so great is because the Bucks play 22.5 seconds of perfect defense, and it's not enough. Like, that is the banked-in 3 type of momentum killer, of spirit sucker, where it's like, you got to be kidding me. Where they did everything right, and the Suns just did everything a touch better. But I want to build on Brandon's point, because in the second half, there were 2 key sequences. One was when Giannis went to the bench for 2 minutes, and Phoenix instantly went on a 5-0 run. He was fixing his shoe or he had a cramp. It was infuriating. It reminded me so much of the 2018 or the 2015 Cavs, where it's like LeBron goes to the bench to get a drink of Gatorade, and immediately a 4-point lead turns into a 6-point deficit. It's like, what the hell just happened? But the other sequence was another 5-0 run, Brandon, on offensive rebounds, and those possessions were kept alive by Ayton, and on the possession in between, where the Bucks had the ball, Ayton got a block, and it was right after this moment from Monty Williams that you were referring to that I think if Wild is making, you know, team basketball VHS tapes, this should be on a Tom Amansky coaching tape. Play the Monty Williams sound.
This is the deal. One, you're getting back in transition. You don't have Giannis find a man and be a guard. 2, look at me. You set a high level.